Welcome to Your Iconic Image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. CEO and founder of Capture Social Group, Theresa Depasquale, has mastered the art of online branding and social media strategy and has become the go-to for many high-level clients to help them successfully grow their reach, credibility, and sales on social media. Welcome, Theresa.
Thanks for having me.
So first, tell everybody a little bit about your background and how you got to this point.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually, I started my entrepreneurial journey owning gyms. I had a couple of health clubs here in the Tampa Bay area. And at that time, I was also a very new mom with two little nuggets and kind of a new wife and a lot going on. And I just decided that whole brick and mortar membership based business is not my favorite thing and not going to work for me. I ended up getting really sick just from stress because, as you know, when you're a new mom, you don't sleep a lot. And so I had a lot on my plate. And so I ended up closing one gym and selling another basically for nothing. We ended up actually bankrupting it. And in that time, I kind of took off when I was not feeling well. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a year off and kind of figure out what I want to do. And Instagram had just come out and I was like, just kind of fiddling around on there. And like, I remember not even knowing how to put a post up. I was kind of like, how do you even use this app? It's so weird. I have no idea what I'm doing. But long story short, at that time, I had owned the gyms, but I had never done anything with like competitive fitness. And I had this year that I was like, not really working. So I was kind of like, you know what, I'm going to do a fitness show because it scares the shit out of me. And if I'm scared of something, that means I have to do it. And so I was like, you know what, let me just lean in. I'm going to commit to one. And so at that time I started using Instagram and I was like posting my journey of doing this kind of fitness show. And I just started growing in followers. And back then it was like so easy to grow. It was so different than it is now, you know? And so I was kind of like one of the OG fitness people on Instagram. It was like me and Natalie, what the heck is her name? Natalie Sky and, Natalie Jillfit and Emily Sky. There was like a couple of us that really started back then. And so I kind of just started really kind of like, oh, well, there's something here with this whole Instagram thing. And I wrote an ebook. It was called Bikini Mom Secrets. And I remember I sold $5,000 in one day to my Instagram audience. And I was like, whoa, I was like, okay, there's a business here. Like this is something is happening. So I got very serious about it. I actually started building other marketing pages on Instagram. I like went 100% in. I was doing like, I had these huge brand pages that I would sell ads on. I would leverage them to build my page. I did all this stuff with Instagram. And so I did that for a while until I actually started a whole online fitness business based off of my Instagram. So I ended up building, it was a pretty large, it was a high 6-figure online fitness business. I wrote a book. I wrote a really good best-selling book. I developed an app. I did all the personal brand things. And so it kind of was at a point towards the end of my fitness career, I ended up joining a mastermind to learn online marketing. And in that mastermind, I started doing a lot of consulting for building your brand on social media. And so my mentor, who's one of my very good friends now, JJ Virgin, she was the one that put on the mastermind. She's like, you know, you're so good at this. Like, why don't you just do this? And I was kind of like, okay. Because I was honestly, after 15 years in the fitness industry, I was kind of done anyways. I was really tired of doing the whole, bikini pictures and all that kind of stuff. I was like, you know what, I'm in my mid 30s. I think I'm done with all of this. So I was ready to transition. So yeah, I sold my fitness business and I started this business about a little over 3 years ago. And I've never looked back since and I'm obsessed. I love it.
So talk to us then. How do we use Instagram to do what you did?
Yeah. There's a lot to it. So what I do, and it sounds like it's like kind of the same people that you work with, which is why we're chatting, is I really my wheelhouse is working with personal brands to help them understand how to build their brand on social media and be able to leverage it for their business. There's different models of monetization. Obviously you can be an influencer. I don't teach people how to do that. That's actually a different model. I work with people who are like entrepreneurial experts at something, like entrepreneurs or expert doctors or motivational speakers or things, a health coach or whatever, something of that nature that they want to build a brand and be able to leverage it for their business. Yeah. So that's what I teach. And everything that I teach is based around engagement.
So actually what you do, because I know a friend of mine had once said, do you want to be an influencer or a person of influence? So you work with the people of influence as opposed to the influencers.
I'm going to write that down. I'm going to steal that as a quote. See? Okay. I'm going to steal that. So, but basically really like to your point, if you want to be a person of influence, then you have to have an engaged audience. Mm. And so when I started figuring out, and, I built this huge personal brand Instagram, and I don't know if you remember years ago, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 4 or 5, the whole algorithm came out and everyone would shit because to change the whole platform. And so it was kind of at that point I had to really dig in and be like, okay, how does this whole, like, I'm really kind of a unicorn because I'm very creative, but I'm also obsessed and like analytical and like data driven. So I'm like this weird unicorn, which is why I'm good at social media. But yeah, I had to really figure it out. And what I figured out is it's like everyone overlooks the basic stuff, which is like, you have to have an engaged audience. So what we teach is all of the strategies for that. And it's really about like, one foot in front of the other. There's no hacks. You don't buy fake followers. You don't buy fake stuff, no vanity metrics, because if you're trying to leverage it for your business, that's not going to do you any good. They're not going to buy anything, right? It's we say having a big social media following that isn't engaged is like having a big email list that doesn't open your emails.
Right.
There's no point. There's no point, right? What's the point? So everything we do is really based around, I mean, you can make a lot of, you can drive traffic and build a really significant business, even with a couple thousand followers. You don't need hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. So that's kind of like the skills, the tactics and strategies that we teach. It works at 500 followers and it works at 500,000 followers. It's the same strategy.
So what are some of the key points that we would have to keep in mind without giving away all this secret sauce?
I'm happy to talk about it. There's so many, so I'm like, okay, where do we want to start? I would say, the biggest thing is people want to follow people on social media. I think that a lot of experts and entrepreneurs that I work with that want to leverage their social media for their business, whether it's Instagram or any other one, they start off and they start branding themselves as their business. And that's a really, it's not advantageous for multiple reasons. One is people are on social media to be social. Right. So they really don't want to follow businesses. They want to follow people. So you're going to get exponentially more growth and engagement with a personal brand page versus a business page. So, and that's an open-ended question because everyone's like, so should I have a business page? Yeah, you can have one, but I wouldn't focus all of your efforts on that. I would focus it on your personal brand page because that's going to build so much more brand equity. You're going to get so much more reach and growth that it's going to be able to funnel all that over to your business way more than if you just try to build a brand page.
So let me just ask you this real quick. So let's say we are a public figure or an entrepreneur or solopreneur or any of that kind of thing. And we have our page, even though we are conducting it as a personal brand, should it be a quote unquote business page or should it?
Yes, exactly. So most people get confused on that. So when I say personal page, it means like the content you're putting up, but the settings we typically recommend creator or business account on Instagram because you're going to get the analytics and you've got to have, if you get like anything, you can't manage what you don't have any numbers for. Right. So you've got to have data. So you've got to have those analytics. So you have to have a creator or business account. So that's a great question. But what I'm talking about is like the front facing content. Like if you visit the page, what content is the page? Yeah. So good question. But yeah, I would say that's number one. The second part to that is also, we're entrepreneurs and we're not going to be doing the same things forever. Look at me. And so learn by my example. I branded myself as my business. My Instagram was called Bikini Boss Theresa for 7 years because that was my business name, my brand name, my everything. And I kind of equate it to like, it's like typecasting yourself as like Seinfeld, like Jerry. So he's just going to be Seinfeld forever because that's what you know him as. Right. And so people are so like Bikini Boss. I'm like, oh gosh. Okay. Like, yeah, don't make the mistake that I made. So because you might want to change down the road, you want to pigeonhole yourself, right? So you don't want to spend all this time and money building this following for just this one thing. I always say like, build your personal brand and your business is just one thing that you do. So that down the road, if you change, you still are your personal brand and you're just changing the thing that you do. Right. So, so I teach strategies in my course. I have like a Instagram strategy course. And part of it is, this is another thing I'll give you. It's a 3-2-1 posting strategy. So a good rule of thumb, and this is just generalization. Okay. This isn't, you don't have to stick with it for everything, but let's say that you want to do out of every 6 posts, 3 of them can be more business related. At least 2 of them should be more personal. And then 1 can be some kind of a sales call to action, promotion, something, because you also don't want to spam your audience to death. Right. I know you want to leverage it for business, but people don't want to feel like they're at a used car sales lot. Right. So the 3-2-1 is like one of my posting strategies when you're planning your content. So again, 3 business posts, 2 should be more personal and 1 CTA for every 6 posts. So it's a good strategy for you. Good.
What about hashtags and things like that? How do we find the hashtags that will work for us? Because there are a gazillion out there.
That's a really open-ended question. So I'll try to give you some tips.
Okay.
I think people don't understand what hashtags are for, and hashtags are very simple. If you think about what they're for, it makes it really easy for you to understand how to use them. Hashtags are basically your way of communicating to the algorithm what your post is about, so that the algorithm understands where it needs to categorize it. Okay, who it needs to show it to, right? What users, because users have different interests. So your hashtags are what is going to communicate that. So if you put a bajillion different hashtags that don't make any sense in one post, guess what's going to happen? It's not going to understand what your post is about, and you're probably not going to hit anything. So one of the biggest things with hashtags is specificity. Getting very specific of, if you're putting up a post about branding, then you need to have 15 hashtags about branding, right? Not branding, entrepreneurship, hashtag hustle, hashtag boss life, because even though that could go with branding, you're just confusing the algorithm. So you've got to get super specific with what you're doing. That's the biggest hashtag tip I can tell you. Make sure you're using different sizes. I think a lot of people go and they put the biggest hashtag they can find. That also is not great, because what's happening is, like, basically you're now competing with, like, say that there's a hashtag for 1.5 million, hashtags. You're now competing with 1.5 million other posts to be seen at the top of that hashtag thread.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying to never use the big ones. I'm saying that you also want to use the smaller ones, because you're going to have a much more likelihood of actually ranking at the top of that thread. And hashtags on Instagram specifically are SEO for Instagram, because that's one of the biggest ways they're searching for content and accounts is through hashtags. Mm-hmm. So they're going to those pages and looking at the posts on those pages. So if you can rank at the top of that page, it's one of the best ways to attract your ideal followers.
How about the number of hashtags? Any idea?
You can put up to 30, but we always recommend like 15 to 20 optimized hashtags. Optimized means, like, you're researching the specificity, the different sizes. You don't want to use anything that's banned or censored. There's a lot of hashtags that they basically, if you go to the hashtag and you see like a thing that says like content's been hidden on this hashtag due to community violations, don't use that hashtag, because that's a censored hashtag, because people have been obviously abusing it. And you'd be shocked. There's like way more than you probably think. And if you use that, you won't hit any hashtags.
Okay.
So taking the time to research and looking at what each hashtag is before you just put them on there is a really big deal.
And what's the best way to research them? Just go
in the search bar and manually. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of any of the softwares that do like the hashtag generation, because, like I said, they're just not specific enough. Like it's kind of like a random dump of like a million hashtags. I mean, I guess it's better than nothing. If you're going to do nothing with that, it's better, but it's not the most effective. There's a lot of people that they'll say hashtags don't work. It's because they don't understand how to use them right. It's one of our biggest ways that we grow pages.
Is there a way to find the other hashtags that are relevant to, let's say it's personal branding?
Yes.
Will other hashtags come up that are
totally
in that same?
Yep. So when you go in, and Instagram made it really easy. It's like, say you type in personal branding, and that's whatever, 500,000. I'm making it up. If you see underneath, it's going to show you all relevant hashtags that are smaller and different sizes underneath. And you can just go grab, that you can grab the ideas and then put them in your post. So it makes it very easy.
And what are geotags? Explain what those are to people.
Geotags are location tags. So, I mean, they're very beneficial. We use them to get engagement in the post, because people don't realize there's actually 9 different types of engagement on Instagram. I talk a lot about Instagram because when you're talking about, people like us that are experts and entrepreneurs, I personally believe Instagram is the best platform for us. I love it. It's got so many different features. You can grow organically still. You can attract your ideal person. They have so many analytics and data. So for me, it's my favorite. We do other platforms, and a lot of these rules apply, but I really talk a lot about Instagram. So you're going to hear me really focusing on Instagram.
Yeah.
So for Instagram, there's 9 types of engagement. There is the ones most people think about, which is likes, comments, shares, and saves, right? That's active engagement, because people are doing something. There's passive engagement, which is impressions and reach, which means reach is how many people are seeing your content. Impressions is how many people are seeing your content, but even kind of repeatedly, right? So it could be the same people seeing it multiple times. And then there's time on page. If somebody visits your page and they're just kind of looking around, but they're not doing anything. So that counts as engagement. And then there's interest engagement, which we like as entrepreneurs, which is DMs and website clicks. So there's 9 types of engagement. So if we want to boost engagement, one of the ways, and this is a tactic that we teach, if you use the location tab, if you find locations that you can rank on now, and I'm not saying to put like a Starbucks or something silly, but you could put like the town that you live in. There's different areas of the town that are like smaller. You can actually get reach and impressions from that location, which will then count as engagement on your post, which will also then help you possibly hit a hashtag or hit the explore page. You see what I'm saying? So like all these little tools in the toolbox that we do kind of help to get the post more engagement, that help get more reach for the post. So it's not just one thing. It's like all these things that we do for the post.
And what are the other kinds of engagement?
I mean, that's a big one. Obviously, the first and the biggest thing I'll talk about is you have to have good content. And I could teach you all the tactics and hacks in the world, but if you don't have good content, it's not going to work. So content is king. Instagram started as, and is still a visual platform. I talk about this a lot because people do not, the biggest difference I see between someone who's crushing on Instagram and someone who's not, it's their visuals, graphics, pictures, videos. What do they look like? And it's not even just, are you having a professional make it? It's, I find that like a lot of these designers don't even understand what works on social media. So they're making stuff that might work on a website or, you know what I mean? But like, it's not going to be converting on social media. So it's really understanding the nuances of the type of content that people on Instagram like to consume. And this is what we're very good at my agency. We take our clients' info and we turn it into content that people love to consume on Instagram, right? And so that's a really big deal. It's like, what does that graphic look like? How are their pictures? How are their videos edited? Or what do the videos look like? And so this is numero uno important because of one reason. Attention is everything.
Right.
If you can't get someone's attention, you're never going to grow. And so the visual is what gets people's attention, right? So the first step to any kind of engagement is the visual. So that's why I stress a lot about that. And I feel like out of all the factors, that's the biggest area of improvement for most people that they can, area of opportunity that they could really work on.
And as a photographer, still photos are obviously near and dear to my heart, but I know that video is a big thing now for Instagram. So what have you seen with that?
Yeah, photos are still huge. So the CEO of Instagram actually came out and he said, we're basically going to be making a big push for video because they want to compete with TikTok and YouTube and all that. But also that doesn't mean that static images are dead. They're not. Right. And we use them a lot. So it's definitely a mix. I think you should absolutely be using video. If you're not, you're going to be behind. But I think that it should be a mix of content. So like images, graphics, like there should be, if you have a good content strategy, it should be a mix of content in there.
What about up in like stories and things like that? How does that play into everything?
Yeah, I mean, that's just another feature. So I always explain it this way is, you know, when you log into Instagram, do you go to your feed first or you go to stories?
It depends for me.
Right. So I typically go to my feed, but my ex-husband, he would always log in and go right to his stories. So what you have to understand is people like to consume content differently on Instagram. And so if you're not using all those different features, you're not going to be getting as much reach as you can with the different, you know, like people. And it's not that they won't cross-pollinate or go back and forth, but it's really important to be utilizing all the different, the lives, the reels, the wall posts, the stories. So it's just different features and ways to put out content on Instagram, which you should be using all of them.
I'm going to ask a basic question. Can we use the same, let's say, post that we used in the feed? Can we use that, repeat it in the stories and the reels and all that type of thing? Or it needs to be different?
You can absolutely do that and you should do that. However, if you don't have stuff in between, no one's going to look at your stories because stories are more of, I always explain it, you know, the wall is like your billboard. That's your brand billboard. Okay. So you want to be very particular about what you put in the wall. It's when people visit your wall, if it looks good enough, maybe they'll click in and watch something and then maybe follow you. But if it doesn't, they're going to bounce. After that, stories are, you could be on your couch in your PJs, you could be in bed, you know, it doesn't matter where you're at. It's kind of like the behind the scenes, right? And so it's like the real life of everybody. So if you're not doing that real life content, or if you're not giving them some value content in there, you're probably not gonna have a lot of story followers. So yes, you can share and you should share your wall posts, but also you have to put other content in your stories. You should put other stuff in there too.
Got it. Define good content for us.
That's a really hard question to answer. I would say, you know, we teach a concept called infotainment, which is good content is, are you educating people? Are you motivating or inspiring them? Or are you entertaining them? So good content is the best if you have all three of those things in your content.
Got it. How about behind the scenes? How much of that should come into?
There's no set rule for it. I do think, you know, like what we try to do, like I said in stories, for example, is have the clients go do their own behind the scenes stuff. But then we go in and also put like a focus story, which is like still giving them something extra they wouldn't get on the wall, or, you know what I mean? So they have a reason to come back to the stories. Like maybe you put, if you have a health person, you put like extra recipes or extra workouts. Or if you're a business coach, maybe you show them like webinar setup that you're using, or little things that are like, ooh, they're like, this is cool. I love watching your stories because I always learn something. Or, you know what I mean? Even in addition to the real life stuff. So it's like kind of having that mix of content. You don't want to have just all one. You want to mix in like some kind of infotainment, but also like real life behind the scenes.
Got it. Is there a way to optimize our bio that most people aren't aware of, or what should be in that?
There's a lot with that. Yeah. So I would say the biggest tips with that is, again, Instagram, like SEO for people finding discovery of your account. Keywords are huge. So thinking about how you can put your page, your brand's keywords in your bio. So in your name field, if you're not utilizing that, that's huge. In the actual bio itself, that's huge. Making sure it's really easy for people to understand if they visit your page, what is your page about? What are they going to get if they follow your page? And then your content needs to match that. So there's definitely ways to optimize your bio.
What about things like Linktree and all that, where you can have, do you recommend that or do you not recommend that?
We let our clients use that, but it's not great for social media marketing. Like if you're trying to get people to click things, because what we found is a lot of times you give people too many options, they don't click anything or they don't go where you want. So if you're trying to do like direct promotions, I always recommend putting one link. But if it's something where like you just want it, like a personal brand, someone's going to just be curious about you and you can put your links up, I think it's great. It's fine.
Got it. So if people are just starting off to grow their brand on Instagram, what would you say, if you do nothing else, do this?
Invest in good visuals.
I love that.
And you did not pay me and by the way, she didn't pay me to say that. I swear, it's just so important. You'll never get anywhere if you don't do that. I would say the second thing would be consistency, but like the visuals are just everything.
And now that you mentioned consistency in what regard? Should we be posting X amount of times? Is it just?
No, there's no right thing for everybody. And every expert will tell you different things. I can tell you it works for us. We don't do the whole every day, multiple times a day, because again, if you think about engagement, it doesn't matter how much you love someone. If you see their post 5 times in your feed a day, you're going to be like, oh my God, like this is, you're going to stop engaging. This is annoying now. Right. So
it's like the person that keeps texting you.
Yeah. It's like, okay, like, and I love you, but stop. Right. So we do not do that. I would say an average cadence for someone to start, if you have time to make content, would be like an every other day, but don't feel obligated to do that because it's really quality over quantity. So if you can only do 2 times a week or 3 times a week, great. Like, it's really about like a really impactful, awesome post versus just posting watered down content. And this is why I see people like on Facebook selling pre-made content calendars. It's just the absolute worst. It's like National Donut Day, like, what to post every day. And I'm like, that is the worst for any page. It kills the page because people know you're posting just to post and there's like no thought behind it. And so it's like, what do they do? Stop engaging. And then your page goes to shit. So I would absolutely never do anything like that. That's why I've never made one of those. I actually, in my course, I teach like the strategy to make your own content that's optimized for engagement. So whether that's, like I said, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or every other day, or whatever that looks like, even if you can post great content every day, great. But I would definitely not do multiple times a day. Absolutely not. And
now that you brought it up, talk to us about your Instagram strategy course.
Yeah, it's basically, I talk about it a lot because it's our main flagship product that we have. I own a social media full service agency. And so what we did was we basically took all the strategies that we use to grow these accounts organically and put it into kind of like this 7-module course, which is like, it's like a DIY blueprint for you to learn it and execute it yourself. So it's a really great course. It teaches all these foundational stuff that I'm talking about. And then you just plug and play your content into it. And then you get off front, you hit the ground running.
Love it. And I will make sure that the link to that is in the show notes.
Oh, awesome. Thanks.
And so with that, Theresa, I just have 4 final questions for you.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. First one, what's the best piece of advice you were ever given?
All right. That's a really hard one. I would have to go with my mom. My mom always taught me to have a mop bucket attitude. My mom got her MBA in business. She never had a college degree. Her MBA was her mop bucket attitude. She went from being a manager of Burger King to a president of multiple different fast food chains. She's currently, she was president of Steak and Shake. So she worked her way up with zero. She has her, the GED. That's it. Mm-hmm. So she always taught me, she did that through her mop bucket attitude. That's her MBA in business, because it's really just doing all the shit that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So if you want to be successful, do all the shit that you don't want to do.
Yeah. And too many people, I think, put that off and put that off.
Oh, there's a lot of entitlement now too, as well, with the younger generation. They think they deserve without putting in the grunt work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So share with us one thing on your bucket list.
Bucket list would be, I've been torn because I have a huge bucket list. So if I had to pick one, the first thing that comes to my head is I want to, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Stairway to Heaven in Hawaii.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's like the haiku stairs. I forget what island it's on, but it's this crazy huge hike up. It's like these little rinkety stairs that you hike up. I don't even know.
You lost me at rinkety. Anything else?
Yeah. It's insane though. It's gorgeous. It's called like Stairway to Heaven. Yeah. So I want to do that.
And hopefully it's because people, you're going to such a high altitude, not for other reasons, because the stairs are rinkety. Just saying.
Yeah. I like the element of danger. It makes it fun. I just wouldn't bring my kids with me.
When the toy companies finally get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
Okay. This is a hard one. I would have to say coffee and my iPhone. Because if you give me coffee and my iPhone, I can do anything. I'll make money. I have businesses. I can find my way around. I can shop. I can stay connected to people. So
it's true. And last one, how do people find you? How do they find your business?
Oh yeah. So my main platform is Instagram. Obviously, I love that. My Instagram is my name at Theresa with an H, Depasquale. That's Depasquale. And then you can read more about my business. Like I said, we have a couple different parts of our business. We have Social Butterfly Academy. And then we have like our agency, but you can read more about it at capturesocialgroup.com.
Love it. Thank you so much. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlanasemenza.com.